Casper Hughes is the spokesperson for Stop Killing Cyclists.
So, gents, thank you both for joining us. I can see that you're stationary there in your taxi. But Casper, let's start with you. What are drivers doing wrong?
Well, I think I would start from a slightly different angle. I'd start from the fact that this question is calculated really to stir up antagonism, which leads to real world consequences. People do get killed on the roads, and particularly people cycling get killed far more so than they should be doing because of the antagonism that's stirred up by these binary debates. And the reality is, in this in the age in which we live, we know there's a climate and ecological crisis, and we should be focusing on using the roads to decarbonise society, which means prioritising transport that doesn't, that is less harmful to society.
Casper, this is great. Yeah. We have now, I don't even need to go and speak to anybody else. You're saying you are happy with drivers, you welcome, they are great on the road, and it is all harmonious, and you think all drivers are great and considerate to you.
No, I didn't say that. Definitely, I didn't say that. No, we know full well that drivers are the largest cause of every 20 minutes in the UK somebody gets maimed or killed by a driver on the road. So that's whether that's other drivers, pedestrians, people cycling, or whatever. So, drivers are an enormous cause, but also there are wider issues here. Transport is the largest emitting sector for emissions in the UK, and often is the case in cities as well. So, the reality is here, it's not about who owns the roads, it's how we use those roads, and we should be using those roads to decarbonise the largest emitting sector.
So, Grant, what do you think about the fact that drivers are pretty poor, and what do you think about cyclists on the road? Are they a menace as far as you're concerned, or are you happy to see them on the roads in London?
Yeah, listen, I'm happy to see them on the roads in London. I've got a bike myself. I've got 2 teenage sons, and sometimes we go out for a cycle. Safety is paramount, not only for the cyclist, but also, believe it or not, for the pedestrian. Because I drive my cab in London, and trust me when I say, not a day goes by when we come to a red light and the cyclists assume that's nothing to do with them. You ask anyone in London, you're at a red light, the cyclists just go through as if there's, they need a colour check, really. What's green and what's red? Because red means nothing to them. And the trouble in London as well is, like major cities everywhere, we've seen a massive boom in fast food deliveries, and you've got guys on these bikes. You just showed a picture there. There's a load of companies, I won't name them, but these guys are up against it. They've got to deliver some fella a pizza in 5 minutes, and to do that and to be on time, they don't have to obey the laws of the land, of the highway code. They go through the lights, and for me as a professional driver, we've got cycle lanes that hopefully keeps us apart, which is great, yeah, it keeps the cyclists safe. But if the cyclists want to use the road and have all that protection and the facility of the road, then unfortunately I think we're at a time where they've got to get insurance, they've got to wear like a high-vis bib, so they become accountable for their actions. So if they go through red lights. If it was me, I'd get points and probably lose my licence. Where cyclists, they come to the red light, look left and right and think, I'm going. And that's what happens. So cyclists need to be made aware of the impact that they're having on all the other road users, really.
Let's put that to Casper. Casper, it's a common criticism that you get of, that Grant's just made there about cyclists going through red lights. I've seen it when I've been stood at a red light and the cyclists just go
Well, I've got figures here as well. YouGov, 27% ignored red lights occasionally and 8% often. So this does happen, the ignoring of red lights.
So what about that? What about Grant's point that the rules of the road, that you should have to face points and have, just like drivers do if you don't abide by the rules of the road?
Yeah, I mean, 80% of drivers' speed, 86% of drivers' speed, 99.7% of everybody killed on the pavements are killed by drivers. everyone killed going through red lights, bar one person since 2000, this century has been killed by drivers going through red lights. You know, this idea that people cycling skipping red lights more than people driving is nonsense. You know, the danger that is being caused to people on the roads is coming from drivers. And not only is that a danger directly to people, there are 40,000 people dying from pollution. There are inactivity diseases that are being born from people having to take 2 tons of metal to go and every time they need to go down to the shop to buy a pint of milk.
Casper,
we've got to move away from this means of transport.
Casper, pointing to somebody else who might have skipped a red light. It was looking at cyclists sort of skipping lights.
So why are we looking at cyclists when nearly everybody killed going through red lights?
Do you agree that maybe there should be number plates, there should be insurance, there should be road tax paid by cyclists as well? So there is a fairness on the roads for all of the users, and you've had new lanes built for you. So should you have number plates, insurance and road tax?
There is no fairness on the road for anybody. There's no fairness on the road.
To pay your way on the roads, Casper.
So that's just a gross misunderstanding of how the roads are actually paid for. The roads are paid for out of general taxation. So, you know, it's what drivers are paying for is VED, and that is basically that depends on how emitting their vehicles are from the exhaust pipe.
Grant, I'll bring you in because that obviously sounds like a no, that Casper doesn't want number plates, insurance, road tax, everybody who shares the road is abiding by the law. What do you think, Grant?
Well, why would he want regulation? Like I said, it's a free-for-all. And 2 points I'd like to bring up with Casper is, unfortunately, in London, depending on what side you think, the TfL have spent nearly £800 million causing absolute chaos, building cycle lanes, cutting through London, massive traffic congestion, emissions, and Transport for London have spent, like I said, nearly £800 million on a very, very small percentage of London's population who wish to travel predominantly rush hour on their bike. It's unbelievable the amount of money that TfL have put aside just for cyclists. And another point I'd just like to say to Casper, the black cab trade, he talks about fuels and emissions. The black cab trade has spent £400 million thus far on electric cabs. And unfortunately, Transport for London and the Mayor has spent nothing on infrastructure. Yeah, there's 6,500 electric cabs and just 30 charge points in London, central London for it. It's absolutely disgraceful. And that's the sort of thing that should be brought up. So when Casper's riding next to me on his bike, yeah, he's not breathing in dirty fumes. So we can increase the fleet of electric cabs and get where we all want to be.
Casper, what about that? About all these cycle lanes that sometimes you see with hardly any cyclists on, and the traffic all stacked up with all the emissions that come from that? That can't be good for the environment, surely.
So we've seen air quality has been improved in London by the implementation of, well, initially the congestion charge zone, but then more recently ULEZ as well. Unfortunately, whilst the new cabs have got zero emissions from their exhaust pipe, that doesn't deal with all of the emissions. Unfortunately, there's tyre emissions, there's road wear, there's other emissions as well that come from these vehicles that are extremely damaging on children. And it's wonderful that the TfL have been spending money on protected cycling lanes. For example, 70% of traffic over Blackfriars Bridge during 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock is cycle traffic. That has going to massively reduce congestion in one of the busiest areas of town. But I go back to the point again. The problem that we've got here is that transport is the largest emitting sector. We are in the throes of a massive climate and ecological crisis. And we basically need to work out how very quickly we can get cars off the road and more safe and climate responsible means of transport to the fore.
Casper, Grant, thank you very much. I'm not entirely sure there was a meeting of minds there, but thank you very much.